Amid the dense mist of Bavaria, an ancient oak gate opened, but not for everyone. The woman in black, Queen Camilla, stood still, her eyes full of surprise and confusion. She, the lawful queen of the United Kingdom, had been denied entry through the gate at a private memorial for Prince Philip. The security forces, privately hired by Philip's German relatives, decisively blocked her, offering no explanation, no sympathetic glance. Never before had such a scene appeared in modern royal history, the head of the monarchy being refused by her husband's distant lineage. Shortly after, another figure stepped through the gate, welcomed with open arms, a bright smile, and trusting eyes, Catherine, Princess of Wales. This contrast was not an accident, but a public statement, an implicit verdict sent to the entire royal world. Could this be a sign of a long-hidden secret left by Prince Philip, a vow or prophecy never revealed? The memorial, meant to remain private for those upholding Philip's spirit, now became a scene full of unanswered questions. Is title truly more important than bloodline and virtue? Who is worthy to uphold Philip's legacy? In this video, we will gradually unveil historical secrets, from letters buried since the war, life and death vows between Philip and his sister, to the dramatic confrontation between Charles and Camilla, and decode the significance of the delicate brooch Catherine wears. Prepare to see truths long concealed. Everything began on a foggy morning in Bavaria, when the weak light filtered through dense ancient trees, creating a scene both silent and laden with meaning. The ancient oak gates of the chapel opened, carrying a solemnity almost suffocating. Inside, the chapel was so quiet that every footstep, every breath seemed amplified. Everyone present felt the weight of history, responsibility, and dignity. This was where those regarded as guardians of Philip's original vision gathered, silent yet powerful figures, preserving the honor and spirit of a departed icon. At that moment, Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped through the gate with rare composure, showing no hesitation or fear. She was escorted by senior members of the Sophie lineage, those who understood the value of tradition and the spiritual authority they upheld. Her name was formally recorded in the guest register. A seemingly simple ritual, yet deeply significant. A recognition, a sign that she belonged among those allowed access to this sacred space. Every step Catherine took was measured, graceful, both honoring tradition and asserting authority. No one in attendance could look away. Even the cold, distant gazes could not hide their surprise at her calm and confidence. But that solemnity was immediately disrupted when Queen Camilla appeared. She arrived unannounced, seemingly assuming that her title as lawful queen would grant her effortless entry through the gate. Reality, however, was far from expectation. As Camilla approached, the security force hired by Philip's German relatives intervened instantly. No harsh words, no violent gestures, but determination and coldness radiated from every action. An imagined, icy voice seemed to say, "The guest list is closed. This ceremony is for those bound by blood and trust, not crowns." Camilla stood frozen. In that moment, the atmosphere seemed to solidify. Her arrogance and confidence, once her weapons, suddenly dissolved before this firm and unyielding decision. With no choice left, she turned and withdrew step by step toward her convoy, leaving behind tense stares and whispers. This was not merely a surprise, it was a public declaration, a shock that forced everyone to reconsider the norms of power and the true standing of each individual in the royal family. The reaction from Windsor Palace was no less chaotic. Within hours, aides panicked, phones rang incessantly. Who allowed this? Who knew about the ceremony? Why was Catherine embraced while the Queen was not? The event, long kept secret for those truly regarded as guardians of Philip's spirit, became a small diplomatic explosion, an indirect yet clear statement emphasizing the spiritual authority still held by the German lineage. After the ceremony, the elders of the German lineage pulled Catherine aside. A brief but highly symbolic exchange took place. She received a handwritten note, a discreet yet solemn message, along with a delicate pendant, a symbol of the transfer of spiritual authority. This was not an ordinary piece of jewelry. It signified that Catherine was recognized as the custodian of Philip's spirit, faith, and vision for the coming years. She stood silently, her gaze calm yet reflecting awareness of the heavy responsibility she had just been entrusted with. Meanwhile, Camilla's refusal sent a sharply ironic and shocking message. Power, title, and rank do not always guarantee priority or respect. The German lineage, with centuries of tradition, still held the authority to judge who is deserving and who is not. Camilla, despite being the lawful queen, had to accept that sometimes bloodline, virtue, and loyalty can surpass even the crown. This scene seemed both a punishment for arrogance and a spiritual blessing for the chosen one. Catherine, trusted and honored by Philip's family, the image of Catherine calmly stepping out of the chapel, the delicate pendant around her neck, her gaze thoughtful yet determined, became a symbol of a new generation, one that both inherits tradition and upholds dignity, a complete contrast to Camilla's failure and confusion. Everyone who witnessed it realized that this was not merely a memorial ceremony, but a spiritual battle, a declaration of power and legacy, recorded in royal history in a way few could have anticipated. This moment, with all its tension, suspense, and surprise, not only shook those present, but also sent a powerful message to the entire monarchy. Who is worthy of trust, who truly preserves Philip's spirit, and who is only to be observed from afar. In the dim light of the Bavarian afternoon, Catherine emerged, calm yet commanding, while Camilla withdrew, silent but left behind. The clearest evidence that in the palace, titles sometimes yield to loyalty and genuine respect. But to understand why Camilla faced such an unimaginable refusal in Bavaria, we must travel back in time. We must return to an era when Europe still lay in the ashes of war, when the British crown was not only a symbol of power, but also a moral burden. Decades earlier, a vow had been buried. A secret pact between Prince Philip and his exiled German bloodline. That pact became the foundation for the decision that blocked Camilla at the Cold Oak Gate that day. In 1940, as World War II had just ended, Europe entered the most devastated period in modern history. Cities once thriving now lay in rubble, families torn apart, regimes shaken to their roots. Amid this chaos, Philip was merely a young naval officer, not yet the husband of the future queen, not yet standing beside Elizabeth for nearly a century. He returned to Germany in secret to seek his family, crossing temporary bridges, bombed out stations, and empty houses. Few knew about this journey because Philip remained silent about his past. But what transpired in a small villa on the outskirts of Frankfurt became a crucial piece of royal history. In that dimly lit room, Philip met his eldest sister, Princess Sophie. She had been exiled with her family due to complicated pre-war political ties. Yet Sophie harbored no resentment, nor did she beg Philip to restore her family's honor or assets. She sought only one thing, something she considered more precious than any throne: a vow, a personal pledge between siblings, between two people born into a family once shaken by wartime mistakes. Sophie looked at Philip with stern yet affectionate eyes. She said that power could make people forget the original purpose of the monarchy, that the throne is not only about prestige but must be grounded in principle, that one the heir to the British crown could lose direction without someone to safeguard morality beside them. And then, amidst the ruins of war, Sophie placed her hand on Philip's shoulder and spoke words that would later become his secret spiritual legacy. Do not let the crown forget its purpose. Philip, find someone who can distinguish between prestige and principle. At that moment, in the cold but prophetic room, Philip nodded. No ritual, no documents, only the sincerity of a younger brother and the steadfast belief of an elder sister. That vow, the Pact of 1945, was known only to the highest members of the German lineage. It was a promise to protect the soul of the monarchy, to prevent corruption, arrogance, or the misuse of power from infiltrating the heart of the British royal family. Philip kept that promise in his own way. very Philip-like, stubborn, direct, and silent. When the scandals involving Charles, Diana, and Camilla erupted in the 1990s, many assumed Philip was indifferent. They did not understand that he was battling the greatest disappointment of his life. His silence was not consent. It was the echo of the 1945 pact, a disappointment toward those who allowed the crown to become a shield for wrongdoing. The pain of a man knowing that part of his family had strayed from the principles his sister once warned him about. And when Philip passed away, the story began to emerge. In the privately sealed correspondence, the elders of the German lineage found a brief but cryptic handwritten note. She will know when to stand. No name, no time, just a prophecy, yet powerful enough to make the lineage convene to interpret it. They believed Philip had designated someone to continue the vow, someone he deemed capable of standing up at the precise moment when the monarchy balanced between honor and decline. The current German lineage issued a shocking declaration. She, whom Philip referred to, was not Camilla, not the one wearing the crown, not the one standing beside Charles in grand ceremonies. She was Catherine, the woman who had remained calm throughout years of royal storms, never seeking the limelight, exhibiting restraint respected by the public and always valued by Philip. That is why the ceremony in Bavaria was not an accident. It was the enactment of the pact. The German lineage recognized only the person Philip had chosen, and that person was not Camilla. Despite her lawful queen title, it was Catherine, the woman who received the pendant in the cryptic note, a sign that history had called her name. Many believe that Camilla's refusal at the Oak Gate in Bavaria was merely a diplomatic mishap, a ceremonial mistake. But to understand why that moment functioned as a judgment, almost a silent indictment of the queen, we must return to the harshest years of European history, where Prince Philip's German family endured devastation, grief, and secret vows. To understand today's events, one must look at the real Philip, at the nature of a vow hidden for decades, a vow whose awakening held the power to shift the ethical balance in Windsor and make even the reigning queen pause before a closed gate. In 1940, as the war had just ended, Philip was only a young naval officer, torn between duty to Britain and his German heritage. Many assumed he had separated from his old homeland, but the reality was far more complex. Amid Europe's ruined streets, Philip secretly returned to Germany to see his family. This was a journey unknown to the British royal family, and it revealed the vow that would chill future generations. Philip walked through shattered streets, observing collapsed buildings, sensing the lingering scent of ashes, and in that silence of destruction, he met his eldest sister, Princess Sophie, the one whom history had forced to the sidelines, exiled due to pre-war political choices. Sophie did not demand that Philip restore the family's honor. She did not ask him to protect land, titles, or recognition. What she wanted was deeper, sharper, like a knife etched into the soul. She requested a vow to protect the soul of the monarchy, to safeguard what she called spiritual honor. She understood that the post-war era would usher in a time when power could be manipulated, when the crown could easily lose its sacred purpose, and she wanted Philip to be the guardian of that. In their final meeting, the words that later reached posterity only through scattered letters formed a scene almost ritualistic. Sophie told Philip, "True honor does not sit atop the head, but resides in the heart of the one who wears it. Find someone capable of reminding others of this when the time comes. Protect principle, even if prestige falters." Philip promised, not with grand ceremony, but with quiet eyes, an unspoken acceptance. Back in England, he lived as if the journey had never happened. Yet that vow followed him until his final days. Throughout Charles and Diana's marriage, through all the scandals, rifts, and simmering betrayals, Philip was seen as silent, stern, at times chillingly cold. But that silence was not indifference. It was disappointment, the echo of the vow he had made to Sophie when Camilla appeared, when the love triangle unfolded, when the family's balance was disrupted. Philip did not speak to defend his daughter-in-law, but he also did not accept Camilla. He stood on the sidelines, and that silence was as sharp as a verdict. Years after Philip's death, part of his correspondence was discovered in an old wooden safe at Windsor. One yellowed piece of paper bore a sentence that stunned all who read it. It said, "She will know when to stand." No one knew who she was. But when Philip's German lineage, the keepers of ancient letters, declared that she was Catherine, immediate controversy erupted. They said Philip chose Catherine not because of status, not because of her marriage to Prince William, but because of her calmness and morality. According to them, only Catherine possessed the qualities Sophie had described, the ability to distinguish between glory and principle, between the crown and its soul. To understand why Sophie's lineage held such authority, one must look at their nature. Those exiled members did not live in resentment, but in a deliberate form of seclusion. For decades, this family preserved a code they called the parallel code of ethics. According to them, the monarchy could exist in two layers, ritual and moral. While Britain maintained the ceremonial crown, they believed the German lineage must protect its soul. This tradition was nurtured quietly, without display. Yet it influenced those who knew Philip as a young man. They considered themselves the order of ancestral honor, seeing the protection of the crown's spiritual purity as more important than rank or power. To them, Camilla symbolized rewriting history for convenience, a sign of a dynasty prioritizing survival over sacrifice. They did not hate her for her past, but for asserting power in ways they deemed dishonorable. In contrast, Catherine represented a different model. She did not seek attention, did not use media to sway opinion, did not curry favor. She simply worked quietly, disciplined, as if continuing a vow she did not know she had been chosen for. When Catherine arrived in Bavaria, the reception she received was not merely a diplomatic formality, it was recognition. "Please enter, Princess." The words sounded like a traditional ritual repeated through generations, and when they handed her the pendant containing Sophie's symbol, they were performing the flame-passing ritual, a secret ceremony never publicly revealed for nearly 80 years. Catherine did not ask for it, but she was chosen. That event ignited the palace. Camilla returned to Clarence House in anger that all aides could feel. She believed she had been deliberately humiliated. As the lawful queen, she believed no one could deny her attendance at a family-related ceremony. She demanded the guest list, demanded to know why Catherine was welcomed while she was barred. But the aides had no answer, because the truth was that the ceremony lay beyond Windsor's authority. It belonged to the old bloodline, predating even Elizabeth II. Camilla requested a private meeting with Charles. She wanted him to defend her, to speak to the German family to restore the queen's dignity. But the meeting did not go as she expected. Charles, torn between love for Camilla and memories of a strict but principled father, said something that stunned her. It was not the family's will, but it was their right. When Charles said family, he did not mean the British royal family. He meant the German lineage. He acknowledged they possessed a type of moral jurisdiction that he could not touch. Catherine was later asked privately at Windsor about her decision to attend the ceremony. She calmly replied that she was merely following the late Duke's wish. Those words silenced Charles and conveyed a profound truth to those present. The throne might belong to Charles, but the soul of the dynasty had shifted elsewhere, to another person. That person was not Camilla. From that moment, Camilla began viewing every action of Catherine through suspicion and fear. She believed Catherine was gradually replacing her, not only in public perception, but in the spiritual structure of the royal family. She felt as if a strategy had been set in motion to overshadow her. But the most frightening thing for Camilla was not that Catherine was fighting. It was that Catherine fought nothing at all. That silence, that composure, that lack of resistance made Camilla feel cornered. And when a queen feels threatened, a storm of power often rises from the least expected place. As Charles faltered, a new generation watched closely. They did not demand the throne, they were building a legacy. And this is how William and Catherine transformed humiliation into strength. It was not just a shift in public sentiment, but a subtle yet powerful movement of spiritual authority within the royal family. What astonishes people is not that they spoke, but that they chose silence at the right moment and acted in a way no one could predict. Since 2023, when crises surrounding Charles and Camilla erupted one after another, William quietly changed his approach. He understood something that many predecessors did not. Power does not have to roar. It does not need sharp declarations. It does not need direct attacks. True power whispers. It exists through stability, through calmness, and by making others willingly follow without coercion. William chose this path. He did not confront Camilla publicly even once. He understood that a reactive outburst only benefits the opposing side. Instead, he stood behind his wife, using every step Catherine took as a silent statement. At European courts, this did not go unnoticed. During official visits, recorded meetings, and even moments that never appeared in the media, people began using entirely different words to describe the Prince and Princess of Wales. Catherine was called by a very special title, the Guardian of Honor, an unofficial title, yet far more significant than any royal insignia. It signified that she preserved the dignity of a faltering institution. Diplomats whispered that Catherine represented the standards the British monarchy once had, while William represented the direction they would have to follow. This combination made European courts shift from observation to respect, from respect to admiration. But this shift was not limited to diplomatic interactions. It penetrated deep into the British aristocracy. At elegant tea gatherings, at dinners where power lay not in words, but in choosing who stood beside whom. Camilla had once been the center of attention. Yet as rumors of tension with William and Catherine spread, and as the king's health made the public favor stability, all eyes began to shift. At major events, Camilla was quietly positioned in less visible areas. Not aggressively, but through clear logic. The public wanted a stable future, and Camilla did not represent that future. Meanwhile, Catherine was increasingly treated in a way reminiscent of the monarchy's golden eras. When she appeared, whispers faded and people looked. When she spoke, conversations paused mid-sentence. Respect for her was no longer mere courtesy, it had become reverence. A special kind of reverence reserved for those who need no power but possess it. People spoke of Catherine in entirely new terms. The calm princess, the silent ruler, the echo of Diana. This comparison did not come from the media, but from public perception. Diana had shocked by daring to confront the institution and speak the truth. Catherine chose the opposite path. She did not step outside the system to fix it. She rebuilt it from within, with restraint, with calmness, with knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. In a turbulent era, that composure became a guiding light. William understood this better than anyone, and his silence allowed this shift to occur. He stood one step behind his wife, eyes always on her. He did not need to speak in her defense. Every action, every choice by her side, every appearance together was a statement stronger than any speech. While Camilla tried to consolidate power by frequent appearances and media use, William chose the opposite, less visible, but each appearance purposeful. And the purpose was always to strengthen Catherine's position in public eyes. Between 2240 and 2840 of the video, this story must be portrayed as a turning point. Not only the contrast between two generations of royal women, but also the contrast between two concepts of power. One uses power to create distance. The other uses dignity to win hearts. One relies on old structures to elevate herself. The other uses calmness to build a new future. And as Charles grew weary, as the throne wavered, the public looked to William and Catherine not as heirs to the crown, but as heirs to the spirit of a once revered dynasty. Their rise was not loud, yet powerful, not explosive, yet certain. No announcement needed, yet everyone felt it. And that made the spiritual power shift within the monarchy irreversible. As whispers gradually subsided and the atmosphere seemed calm, a dark ripple suddenly emerged from deep within the palace's corridors of power. It was not a minor rumor, nor an ordinary misunderstanding that the media could ignore. It was a deliberate response, a desperate attempt to rewrite the truth about the memorial ceremony that had humiliated Camilla. And that moment opened a new chapter in the hidden struggle that all of Britain had no idea was unfolding beneath the surface of silence. An early morning article appeared on a news platform traditionally seen as favorable to Camilla. It claimed that Camilla had voluntarily chosen not to attend the memorial ceremony to avoid attracting too much attention, creating a solemn space for the German family's spiritual event for Sophie. The phrasing was persuasive, as if written by someone deeply familiar with public psychology. It seemed plausible enough that many readers momentarily believed Camilla acted for a noble reason, but the truth began to crack when digital experts examined the source code of the post. A series of markers indicated the text file had been edited by an internal address within the Royal Communications Department. This was not merely a technical detail. It was evidence of a conspiracy. And once the truth was revealed, the entire story pivoted at breathtaking speed. Investigative journalists quickly realized this was a systematic effort to erase the fact that Camilla had been denied attendance. The deeper they investigated, the more evident the palace's confusion and fear became. The German hosts, long silent amid media storms, had to issue a rare, firm statement. They asserted that the article's explanation was false and that their commitment to the memorial ceremony had nothing to do with any British royal media plan. That declaration rang like a warning bell, causing Camilla's cover-up attempt to collapse before the public's eyes. The palace fell into a passive state. Camilla was pushed further into isolation as every line published during the investigation revealed a crack in her power. Some senior aides were called in to explain why documents had been edited. No one anticipated that a small effort to soften the humiliation would become evidence showing that Camilla's faction was so concerned they resorted to clumsy tactics. And from that moment, the prophecy that the German family had whispered during private meetings began to take effect. A few weeks after that media incident, while the palace remained in turmoil, an unexpected discovery at Windsor Castle changed the entire picture of spiritual power that Britain thought it knew. In a seldom visited storage room, the curator found a carefully sealed envelope. The wax seal bore Philip's personal emblem, still intact. The envelope was marked as a personal document and was delivered to the spiritual heir Philip had chosen many years earlier. That person was Catherine. When the envelope was opened, the contents left those present speechless. A handwritten note in black ink, with firm yet slightly trembling handwriting, likely written in Philip's final years as his health declined. The words stated that Catherine carried what others only wore on the outside, a metaphorical expression that made readers pause to feel its depth. Philip meant that she embodied the essence of honor and steadfastness, not just its outward symbol. Beside the letter was an even more astonishing item. It was Sophie's hairpin, exquisitely engraved and preserved through generations. The back of the hairpin bore an ancient Latin inscription, Fiat Custodia Regni. The meaning of this phrase is, "Let her guard the kingdom." This hairpin was not an ordinary piece of jewelry. It had long been considered a symbol of spiritual guardianship. Its transfer to Catherine not only signified inheritance, but also confirmed that she had officially assumed a role that even Camilla could never touch. The discreet appearance of the hairpin at a subsequent event further stirred public attention. Though Catherine said nothing, the image of the hairpin glinting under the lights sealed the vow Philip had kept secret since 1945. It was a moment that observers called the transfer of spiritual guardianship, an event not recorded in any official document, but stronger than any royal decree ever issued. From that moment, the hidden palace struggle entered a new phase as Catherine became not only the representative of the monarchy's ethical layer, but also the keeper of the soul of the institution Philip had devoted his life to protecting. So, we have witnessed the entire story from beginning to end, from secret wartime vows, when Prince Philip promised his sister to protect the monarchy's spirit, to the dramatic memorial ceremony in Bavaria, where Queen Camilla, holding the highest royal title, was flatly denied. We saw Catherine, Princess of Wales, pass through the ancient gates with calmness and resolve, welcomed with open arms, granted spiritual authority beyond any title. This struggle is not about titles, thrones, or crowns, but about spirit, conscience, and the legacy Philip spent his life safeguarding. Camilla has a crown, But Catherine has legacy and vow, a queen by title and a queen by legacy. And it seems only one has been entrusted with the ultimate duty to protect the soul of the United Kingdom. But the story does not end here. Sophie's hairpin, a symbol of loyalty and responsibility, appeared on Catherine's attire, reminding us that true power sometimes lies not in the throne, but in loyalty, ethics, and steadfast spirit. Who do you think will shape the emotional future of the British monarchy? Does Sophie's hairpin hold more power than the crown itself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next captivating royal stories. See you in the next video, where we will continue to uncover the British monarchy's untold secrets.